Hey everyone. Do you hear me? Tell me if you hear me and where you're watching from, please. Hi, Virginia. Nice. Please, everyone, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. This is my first live stream, so I'm kind of not sure how it works really, but I think this is fine. Hey, I'm fine, thank you. I'm doing very well. I'm here in Paris. It is super hot, 37 degrees Celsius. It's so hot here. That's why you might see me like sweating a lot, but I can't really open my window because there's too much noise coming in, and I don't have a fan either. From Saudi Arabia, wow. Hi, from Leeds, UK. Greetings. Hi from, someone says hi from Morocco. Wow, nice. I've been to Morocco several times. I really liked it. I've been to Marrakesh, Ouarzazate, Oujda, like so many places in Morocco. People are so nice. I really like Morocco. Los Angeles, nice. Moscow, Russia, wow. This is so exciting for me to see you guys from all over and have you like here on this chat so we can talk a little bit more in depth. Martinique, wow, Martinique, that's so cool. So you speak French. Hello from Ohio, hi. Threpston, UK, hi. Krefeld, Germany, hello. Germany, hi from Ohio, hi. Several people from Ohio. Ich komme aus New York, hi. So cool. Someone is asking, do you prefer summer or winter? I clearly prefer summer. I'm such a summer kid. My birthday is in summer. I love summer. I love tropical weather. I love anything like warm weather, tropical. I'm such a summer kid. So I'd rather prefer um, having this heat instead of freezing. Oh yeah, really welcome to Casablanca. Yeah, I've been to Casablanca only once and but only to the airport. So yeah, I've had many Moroccans tell me that I should go to Casablanca too. It's supposed to be very beautiful, but I haven't had the chance yet to go to Casablanca, but on my next visit to Morocco. Los Angeles. Where else? So please tell me where you're from. From Costa Rica. Wow, this is so cool. I really want to go to Costa Rica. About 2 years ago, I know last year or 2 years ago, I met a friend from Costa Rica in Brazil while I was traveling in Brazil. And that really made me want to go to Costa Rica and visit. Hi from Russia. Wow, there are several people from Russia. Hi. I haven't had the chance to go to Russia yet either. And learn more about different languages. To watch. Someone says, hi, I like to watch your vlogs to learn English. Wow, that's so cool. And learn more about different cultures and languages. That is exactly my goal. That is why I love filming vlogs actually, because I love cultures and languages. Hi, so when you're joining the chat, please tell us where you're watching from. So, as I said, I wanted to make this live stream just to have a nice chit chat, talk, So you can just ask general questions. If you have language learning questions or if you have travel related questions, you can just ask them and I'll try to do my best to answer all the questions you have. So more people joining. Hi from Colombia. Hola. Hola, Colombia. Hello from USA. Hi. Where in USA are you? This is so exciting. London, UK. Okay, someone is asking, how many hours of study a day would you recommend? This is a little bit more difficult to answer because it depends individually. Like, it depends on every person. Obviously, it depends if you are more advanced or a beginner, obviously. So I can't really say, and now, like, I can't really say, for example, 2 or 3 hours a day is fine. It really depends on how you learn, how well you pick up things. I would say for me, I would say like an hour a day, but it depends. It really depends because sometimes I would not even just study for an hour a day. So sometimes it would just be maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. And studying, I would say, yeah, it really depends, but maybe 30 minutes at least, because I think 30 minutes is good. For example, if you're repeating vocabulary, if you're looking over vocabulary that you already learned, you can do that like for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That also depends on how well you pick up things. So if you do that um, for 20 minutes at least, for example, and then go on to something else, about 30 minutes, I think, daily would be good to really learn grammar, for example, and yeah, anything else that you're studying. Hi from Brazil. Oi! Hola! So, who else have you ever been to Israel? Love that country so much. My name is Jewish, by the way. Hi, I haven't been to Israel yet. I wanted to go to Tel Aviv actually, and I also want to go to Jerusalem. And about also 2 years ago, I went to China, and actually I went to learn Chinese at this Chinese school, and there were so many Israelis. So there were such nice people. I had Israeli like a food dinner. It was so nice. So I really want to go and visit. Okay. Someone's asking, please, I need help. Why did you choose to study languages at university? Do you think it was better experience to learn at university? What I want to say is that I studied languages, but a lot of people think that I learned the languages I speak at university, but it wasn't like that at all. Actually, with my course at university, you already had to have a certain level. You already had to be like almost fluent in the language to enter the degree. So, for example, I went to Spain first, and there I studied. The course was called Modern Languages, Culture and Communications, but obviously the whole course was in Spanish. So I was already fluent in Spanish. I was supposed to be already fluent in Spanish because everything was in Spanish. So I was going to have all my classes completely in Spanish. So obviously you already have to be fluent in Spanish or somewhat fluent, like have like a B2. For the most part here in Europe, universities require you to have like a B2 level when you enter university. For example, in Spain, or when you enter a university in France, here in French university, you have to have like a B2 level. That is like an intermediate level, because of course everything is going to be in that language and you have to understand what they're talking about. So that was for my bachelor's degree, and for my master's, that was in French mainly and also in Spanish. So I didn't really learn French, neither Spanish with the master's degree, but the degree helped me to learn other subjects such as like business related subjects like history, all of that in those languages, so in French and Spanish. So I had, for example, marketing in French, and I had marketing in Spanish. I had Latin American history. I had like so business Spanish, like so many things where you already have to be able to speak the language. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to study that. But if you want to enter a course, I think there's barely any courses where you can enter from completely zero, because it is quite difficult when you're having all of those subjects in another language and you will not be able to understand it. So they always require you to have a certain level already once you enter that university course. But you can always choose like a third language, for example, or a second language where you can start from scratch. So for the first language, they usually require you to have a certain degree already. But then if you want to choose a second language, you can start from completely scratch. So in my degree, the first language I think was French. Yeah, the first language was French, and as a second language, if I'm not mistaken, I chose Chinese, exactly, Mandarin Chinese. So that was with my bachelor's degree. As a first language, I had French. So I already had to have a certain level in French because we were having like French literature and all that stuff. So you have to read like 5 books a month in French. So you already have to know French. And for the second language, no previous knowledge was required. So you could start literally from zero. I started Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. And yeah, and then I also started the Italian, exactly. So Italian was just for a year with my master's degree. But other than that, that's what I'm trying to say, that studying language at uni doesn't necessarily mean that you learn the language. It just means that mostly the languages are applied to other subjects. So you learn like marketing or literature or history in another language, like in, let's say, French. In so but if there are several languages, then usually the second language you choose, you start from zero. So in that language, there's no previous knowledge required. You can just start to completely like learn it from scratch. That was it, yeah, for the university degrees. So if you're interested in studying a university degree, like language related degree, then definitely check out the university's description of the degree, because most degrees might have the same name, but they're not the same. So my degree was called Modern Languages, Culture, and Communication. That's a very broad description. So that could be anything, basically. So you really have to look into the university's description of the degree. So you have to look what they offer, which languages they offer, and what level you have to have for which language. And yeah, they usually let you know beforehand. In some universities also they make you take a test, a language test beforehand. With me, they didn't. I never had to do any language tests. Yeah, but some people have to. That's the thing. That's the most important thing, I'd say. All right, let me read some more questions. Hi from Slovakia. Hi. Hello from India. Wow, that's so cool. This is so exciting to meet you, like from all over. Hello from Cologne. Hi. Aus Köln. Cool. I'm actually close to Cologne, my hometown. I speak Spanish and English already. Now I set a goal for me to learn Portuguese and Hebrew. Do you have any piece of advice to make sure I'm dedicating enough time to both? All right, I have several videos on my channel actually talking about exactly that, because a lot of people have asked me, if it's better to learn just one language at a time or to learn several languages. And I've shared my takes on that in 2 videos, I think. So you can definitely check them out in the language learning playlist. And I have answered that question, if it's beneficial to learn 2 languages at a time or just one, because I mainly stuck to just one language because for me it was just more manageable and I really wanted to concentrate on that language. So whenever I was learning a language, I fully wanted to put my concentration and my dedication, my time, everything into that language and then perfect it. And then once I was more or less fluent, I went on to the next language. So that's how it works best for me. But of course, you can learn several languages at once. And your question would be any piece of advice to make sure you're dedicating enough time to both. I would say if you're learning 2 languages, then it's very important to have kind of like a schedule. So you make time for each language and you set a time apart for each language because 2 languages can be a bit confusing, especially if they're very similar languages, like let's say Spanish and French or Spanish and Italian, then it could be quite confusing. So for that, it's very important to set time apart for each language so you don't mix them up or get confused. But you said, yeah, you speak Spanish and English and you're learning Portuguese and Hebrew. Okay, Portuguese and Hebrew are completely different languages. They don't have much in common. So that's a good thing because the tip I gave in that video is that if you're learning 2 languages at once, then it would be advisable to learn languages that are different and not in one language family, so you don't mix them up and you don't get confused. So yeah, my main tip here would be to set a certain time. For example, you could also set certain days for the languages. I would advise to set days rather than just a time. For example, I would say for Portuguese, you do like Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then like for the rest of the days, like Tuesdays, Thursdays, you could do Hebrew. So I think that is the easiest way to keep them apart, kind of. So on the day you're learning Portuguese, you could do everything Portuguese related. And on the day you're learning Hebrew, you could do everything Hebrew related. So you could do like learn vocabulary, study for like a couple, like however long you wish, and then maybe watch a movie, like dedicate your time to listening to Hebrew speaking music, something like that. So everything dedicated to that language. And I think it's easier if you do it on different days. Yeah. All right. Hi. Well, let me see. Hi, I'm new on your channel. Your qualification and professional share with us. All right. Well, I also have a video on that. I answered that in like a FAQ video or so. But that was also a couple of years ago. Well, actually, I have a bachelor's degree in modern languages, culture, and communications, and a master's degree in trilingual international management. That's what it's called. So trilingual international management is basically French, Spanish, and then I also had a little bit of Italian. So you have 3 languages, three languages you can choose, and you have several subjects applied to those languages, as I mentioned and explained before. I love your top, by the way. Thank you very much. I am Rabu from India. You're looking beautiful. Thank you. Love your hair. Thank you. Oh, tu peux parler français? Oui, je peux parler français. Je vis à Paris, donc je parle français forcément. All right. You should come visit Angola. Oh yeah, Angola. Yeah. So do you speak Portuguese? I have Angolan friends from how do you say Angolan? I have friends from Angola, but they speak French. But I know also there's a part there's a part which speaks Portuguese. Um, how to learn German? How to learn German fast? That's a good question. That's a $1 million question. How to learn German fast? The answer is there is no way to learn it fast. German is quite I wouldn't say, I don't want to scare you off. I don't want to say like it's a super difficult language so you're scared, because a lot of people are scared to learn German actually, because I know that the grammar is quite complicated. It's more complicated than other languages. It's more complicated than Spanish, French, or like a lot of Roman languages. It doesn't have really much to do with any of the Roman languages. It is quite similar to English more so, but the grammar is still more complicated. But I would just say take your time. That's the first advice I would give anyone wanting to learn German, because German could be, it could seem as like so much work, and it could scare you off, because I always also have friends who started learning German, but they actually gave up along the way because it was just too hard for them. And I know a lot of people who started learning it or who have learned it in school for like 10 years or whatever, but they just gave up because they feel like it's too hard and too complicated. That's why I would advise you to take your time and really dive in the language. And also in my last video where my last two videos, I published a video with a friend, a Brazilian friend, and she told me that she also wanted to learn German, but she started just learning vocabulary, and then she thought the grammar would come like along the way. So she just started learning the vocabulary and left the grammar. And with other languages that might work, but with German that doesn't quite work, because the grammar in German is the most essential part. Like you have to understand the grammar. Otherwise, the sentence structures wouldn't make sense at all, because the sentence structures are so different in German. Sometimes the verbs are split in like two parts. So there's like one at the beginning of the phrase, and then the second part is at the end of the phrase. So it doesn't really make sense if you're not studying the grammar first. So that's why I would say, the second tip, study the grammar. Study grammar, like I'd say, the most basic grammar, of course. And as you go along your way, you learn more vocabulary and you dive more into the more complicated grammar. But I definitely advise you to start learning grammar first with German. Don't go learning vocabulary and then think that the grammar is going to come, because you're not going to understand anything. The sentence structures are so unique, so you need to learn grammar. And then, of course, all the other things I always advise, like, immersion, music, movies, stuff like that, to get accustomed to the language. All right, let's see some more messages. Okay, someone is saying in German, ich will in Deutschland oder ein anderes deutschsprachiges Land arbeiten. Haben Sie Empfehlungen, wie Sie dieses Niveau erreichen können? Ich bin Amerikaner, ich übe nur im Chat. Welches Niveau? Okay, someone is asking in German. She's American. She's asking in German if I have any recommendations on how to learn German. That's actually what I just said, and how to get to a certain level in German. Okay, and she's saying that she just practices like chatting. So that's what I would say, basically the same thing I just advised. I would say concentrate on the grammar first, but also with the grammar, don't forget to practice reading, to practice speaking, to practice actually talking to people. That's one of the most important things, because you could learn as much grammar as you want to. It doesn't serve you anything if you're not practicing with real life people and talking to them. And I would suggest not just chatting, but I would actually suggest talking. So there's a good app called Lingby. I've talked about this app in one of my videos. It's very good because you can actually talk to people on the phone. So on the app, you can talk to people, and this is, I think, a very good way to practice your speaking, because speaking is one of the most important things I always promote. Just like trying to speak as much as possible. And I think, yeah, with speaking, there is nothing you could do wrong, because you can ask people to correct you. And once you start speaking with people, once you start speaking with the same people, it's even easier, because they will be the ones who correct you if you ask them to. And like that, you learn so much more. That's why I also always advise to have a language exchange, to have I like before, like they used to call it tandem exchange. So I had something like that in my uni, and I also did that. So it's a tandem exchange. So basically, you have a person that you are always meeting, and then you speak and practice in two languages. So each person is a native in one language that you're wanting to learn. Like for example, if you're American, then and you want to learn German, you're meeting up with a German. So obviously the German person would want to learn English more, so you could meet up like weekly. You go to a cafe or wherever, you meet up like for an hour or so, and then for 30 minutes straight you speak English, and for 30 minutes straight you speak German. So that is one of the best ways you can, like, that is one of the best things you could do. That is something I did, and that really helped me a lot. If you can't do it like on one, like if you can't meet the person directly, if there is nothing like that in your town, I don't even think that you could live somewhere where there's no foreigners at all. You could always go like to the library or to the university and just put up a paper, put up something saying, like, put up a note saying that you're looking for a language partner. And there are always, at every uni, there are like foreign exchange students or so you can meet up to, because they're more than happy to meet someone native to talk to. So you could always do that. All right, bonjour. I'm moving to France in 8 days. Wow, that's so exciting. Do you have any advice for making friends in another language? Yes, if you're moving to France, it obviously depends where you're moving to, but basically in any like more or less bigger town, they always have meetups. They have international meetups. I used to do that when I was living in Spain. This is so it's like one of the best ways also to meet people that share the same interests as you. Obviously they share like the same interest in culture and learning new languages. So I used to go to those meetups. I forgot how the name was, but I used to go to those meetups I found online basically, and those are international language exchange meetups. So you could find those in any bigger city. You just go online, try to find an international, just Google like international meetup or so, and you will definitely find one. There's like one in every city, and they always have like monthly, either weekly, but more so like monthly meetups, so you can meet people from all over, international people, but also a lot of native people. You could also meet a lot of French people on there. For example, they meet in cafes, so you could meet French people who are wanting to learn whatever language, like English or other languages. So you are assigned to different tables and people, and yeah, that's very interesting. That's a very good way to meet people. Not only meet people, but meet people who share the same interests as you, and also a very good way to actually practice languages. So if you're learning French, or if you're wanting to practice French, that's a good way to meet French people and practice with them. So anything that is like in a group setting is a very good way to meet people. And in a city like Paris, like for example, when I first came here to Paris, I was always looking for meetups, or I was always looking for like I like dance, so I was looking for dance classes. So like group settings where you can meet people. Otherwise, it's very difficult in such a big city to actually meet people, and so it's important that you look out for those type of group activity. Sorry, group activities to meet people. All right. How do you keep yourself motivated in order to learn the language if your goal? Okay, how I keep myself motivated? All right, that's also an interesting question. I always keep myself motivated. It how do I say it? That's why I like to focus on one language when I'm learning languages, because I like to like concentrate really on that language, and I like to be motivated. Um, in regards to everything related to that language, like that, let's say for example I'm learning Spanish. I like to really concentrate on on like Spanish music, Spanish dance. Like I keep myself motivated by relating the language to everything I naturally enjoy doing. So I naturally enjoy dancing. I naturally enjoy music. So I try to incorporate that in the language I'm learning. So if I enjoy those things in my language already, I'm trying to incorporate that in the new language that I'm trying to learn. So let's say I would want to learn Japanese, then I would try to find like songs in Japanese. I would try to find maybe like Japanese dances or things like that, you know. So depending on what you like, you're actually trying to find your natural interests and like hobbies in that other language. So this is what primarily keeps me motivated. That's the same thing I do with, for example, series and movies that I naturally would like. I would just watch them in another language, and that's how I'm motivated. That's sorry, that's how I'm motivated, because I already like those things. So I'm trying to just incorporate them in my language learning, and then discovering, for example, new ways, new dances, new music styles, and yeah, that's what keeps me then motivated. That's also one reason I don't really have, or I never really had a study routine, because I like to learn when I'm motivated. So, for example, I would come home and then I would want to watch a movie, and then I would just watch a movie in Portuguese instead of watching a movie in English or German. I would watch a movie in Portuguese, or I would look up like telenovelas, like series in Portuguese. So that's how I was motivated to actually learn the language, because that's something I enjoy anyway. So I would just do it in another language. So if you enjoy cooking or whatever you enjoy anyways, you just try to do it in another language. Um yeah, so that's why also, yeah, as I said, I never really had a study routine, because study like schedules and stuff like that don't really motivate me. They scare me off. Like that's why I was never the one to have a rigid study routine. No, never. I just learned whenever I felt like it, whenever I was motivated. Yeah. And also, never, I never studied a certain amount of, like the same amount of time. As I said before, it depends on every person. Some people learn better if they have like a rigid schedule. A lot of polyglots actually have a schedule, so I'm not a typical one, because I don't have study routines or nor schedules or whatever. I never really had that. That was never really my learning style. But a lot of people have that, because that's how they learn the best way. That's why you need to figure out for yourself what works for you best, because I can't tell you that you should study an hour or 2 hours a day. um, that doesn't work for everybody. I know for me it didn't work, and it wouldn't work now, but for some people it might work to study 2 3 hours a day. For me, it wouldn't. Yeah. So there's no right amount, there's no right or wrong amount in that sense. All right, let me read some more questions. Oh yeah, I've been doing yoga in German lately, though I recommend only doing workouts you're familiar with to not get hurt. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea actually. That's something I mentioned in one of my previous videos. It is called How to Learn a New Language at Home, something like that. And this is what I actually talked about in this video, that try to incorporate things you already like in your new language learning routine. So if you're learning German in this case and you enjoy yoga, so you try to watch German yoga videos on YouTube. There are so many. So I'm sure if you just type in like yoga German, you will find so many videos. And of course, yeah, it's always best to watch a video you already know the movements, kind of. So, because otherwise, it's like you said, you might hurt yourself. But yeah, that's a very good way actually to learn. ¿Cuál es la mejor manera de aprender idiomas? ¿Series o libros? Okay, someone is asking me in Spanish, ¿cuál es la mejor manera de aprender idiomas? ¿Series o libros? What's the best way to learn languages? Series or books? I'm going to answer that in Spanish and then in English. Bueno, no, no creo que no creo que haya una mejor manera de aprender idiomas porque depende de cada persona. Algunas personas aprenden mejor con series, otras personas aprenden mejor con libros. Entonces depende de ti con cuáles, aprendes mejor, porque, por ejemplo, algunas personas aprenden mejor visualmente y algunas personas son más auditivas, cuando escuchan algo, por ejemplo, cuando escuchan música, y otras personas más cuando leen las palabras escritas. Entonces yo aconsejo realmente hacer las dos cosas, porque cuando ves series estás escuchando y estás leyendo también los subtítulos a la misma vez. Entonces eso es una buena manera para practicar, leer y también a la misma vez escuchar. Pero libros también son un buen método para aprender. Pero con libros falta escuchar, y eso también es muy importante cuando estás aprendiendo un idioma, porque antes de poder hablarlo tienes que escuchar muchísimo. Escuchar es una de las cosas más importantes, por eso aconsejo series, porque con las series puedes hacer las dos cosas, puedes leer y escuchar a la misma vez, pero también acompañando con libros siempre, porque libros siempre van a ser, uno de los mejores métodos también para aprender, pero no solo libros. ¿Sí? All right, so I'm going to translate what I just said in Spanish. So basically, the person was asking if it's better to learn a language with series or with books. So I was explaining that with series, of course, you depending on what kind of learner you are actually, because some people have more of an auditive learning style. They learn more by hearing things, by listening to things. That is my case, for example. I learn way more by listening to music, by hearing the words spoken. That is how I take things in. That is how I take the words in, and then I'm able to reproduce the sound, to reproduce how they're actually pronounced, how they're how do you say things. So my main method is listening, but other people prefer reading. So when you prefer reading, of course, you're relying more on books, but I'd say don't just rely on books, because this is where the listening, gets behind, because you won't be able to listen unless you have an audiobook. But if you're just reading books, you're not really used to listening to the words spoken out, so you're not really used to how they're pronounced, how they're said. So I would always advise series, because with series you have the subtitles and you can read along and actually listen to the words spoken out so you know how they're pronounced at the same time. That's why I would always recommend series. But of course, books and magazines, for example, are also a very good way to learn because you have to see the word written too. But I would say primarily like series, and then of course you could always read a book in a foreign language. That's what I did too. But I wouldn't just rely on merely like books, you know. All right. Let's see what else. Let's see some more questions. All right, I have to scroll up because I forgot to read out some questions here. All right. Okay. How do you, what's your favorite country and language? All right, what is my favorite country and language? That is also a little bit difficult to say because I have so many favorite places, but for the longest, I would say, and up until now, this is a very like dear country to me, and language is Spain. So Spain because was the first country I went to by myself, and I've had such a good experience that I have always good memories of Spain, of the people there, of the friends I made there. So Spain will always be one of my favorite countries. And languages, obviously Spanish, because Spanish was one of the first languages I absolutely wanted to learn. I first wanted to learn French so much because I always liked the sound of French. I always thought it was sounding so posh and nice, you know. Once I learned French, I really wanted to learn Spanish because I love the sound of Spanish. I love how it's like more, you know, it kind of like a little bit sometimes sounds like French, but Spanish is also very, you know, fiery. I really like the culture, the people. So it's more, you know, it's different vibe Spanish. So that's why I absolutely love speaking Spanish. I absolutely love anything Spanish related. I love Spain. I love Latin America. Like I have so many Latin American friends. So I love the culture. Obviously, it's different, but still, like the Spanish language in itself is like so passionate, and I really like it. Um, all right. How? All right. Let me see. How to learn English fast? Fast. All right. How to learn English fast? I would say the same methods, like how to learn other languages. Same things I advise with other languages. So I always advise them the same things. You know, get into grammar first, learn grammar basics, and then more advanced like vocabulary, and then you can go on to you know, integrate music and series and stuff like that. Reading also a lot, you know, get as much intake as possible. And that's the easiest way I'd say to learn English fast. I've met people who had absolutely no means. I've met people in Cuba, for example, they had absolutely no means. They have no access to classes, English classes whatsoever, but they taught themselves English. And they just taught themselves by watching Netflix. So it might sound crazy, but really, I've met so many people. I'm like, wow, their English is so good, but they've never ever had classes. And it was basically just by watching Netflix, watching movies, watching series, listening to English music, you know. So that's their main way. So that's why I think that's one of the most effective ways to learn a language fast. What is your ethnicity? My ethnicity, I am fully Ghanaian. Ghana, West Africa. Oh my god, you see I'm sweating so much. All right, what else? um Learn French and how to learn, but I'm not. All right, someone is saying I understand both Portuguese, Spanish. I'm a native English speaker. I want to learn French and hope to learn to love it. But at the moment, it just sounds so different. Does it end up being similar? You mean French and Portuguese? Um, all right, Portuguese, French, and Spanish are very similar, but they're also very different. I'd say Portuguese and Spanish are more similar than Spanish, Portuguese, and French. French is a little bit more apart. I'd say the pronunciation is very different of French, it's very unique. So I'd say, does it end up being similar? There are similarities because there are all three of them are Romance languages, so there are definitely similarities. But nevertheless, I would say French is still more apart. French is still more like different than Spanish and Portuguese. So I'd say just like try to listen to it more, and then you will definitely see the difference. All right. All right, and then the person is saying similar to Portuguese and Spanish. Yeah. And what's your recommendations to get started? How the accents vary? All right. You want to know what's my recommendation to distinguish between the different accents? You mean like the Portuguese and French accents, Portuguese, Spanish, and French accents. That's what I was saying. Try to listen to it like more and more so you can make a difference between the accents because, of course, obviously, Spanish will have so many different accents. Um, Latin American Spanish is a lot different than Spanish from Spain. The different countries will have different accents. That's why I would say focus on one country first to get started with, and then you can continue on to other accents and get accustomed to other accents. I first learned, so I would say start with for example, with the language that is closest to you personally or that you would like. For example, with Portuguese, I studied. I had the choice. Of course, you can always learn, one accent, concentrate on that accent, and then you expand. So I was wanting to start with Brazilian Portuguese because I just like the sound of it more than Portuguese from Portugal. It sounded more harsh to me. So I liked the Brazilian sound. It was softer, more like singing. I really like the sound. So that's why I decided to go for that accent. I learned that accent. And from there on, now I can also understand the Portuguese accent, like from Portugal. Of course, it's going to be different, but because I'm advanced now in my Portuguese, I can understand it. Before I couldn't. Before I used to do like exchanges with someone from Portugal, and I barely understood what they were saying, because their accent was so different. But now I can because now I'm more advanced. So that's what I would recommend. Focus on one accent, one region first, and then as you go, as you progress, you will start to understand other accents as well. Oh, let me see. All right. How did I learn Spanish? I learned Spanish in school first, yeah, for 2 years, and then I went on to live with a Spanish host family. I was an au pair for a year. I just filmed a video on that, telling my whole experience as an au pair in Spain. And from there on, I stayed another 4 years in Spain to study at the university. That's how I learned Spanish. Olá! Oi! Oi a todos os brasileiros. All right. This is so funny. Someone is saying my husband is fluent in 4 languages: Albanian, Macedonian, German, and English. So I try talking to him in German whenever there's something I can say in German, but he says it hurts his brain to switch. Yeah, that is so funny. Some people actually are not used to switching between languages, because they barely Yeah, because depending on who they talk to, they are not used to switch languages so much. But I'm used to switch it because in my group of friends, for example, I have people who speak several languages too. So I'm used to switching all the time. Like in a day, I would switch languages so many times. Like I take my phone, talk to my sister in German, and then to call a friend, talk to her in French, or another friend talk to her in Spanish. So according to the person I'm with, or according to the person I'm talking with, yeah, talking with, I always switch languages, so I got used to it. Um, all right, someone is asking, can one reach to B1 from absolute beginner in German if one studies 5 hours of dedicated study for 3 months? All right, you're really motivated. 5 hours, to be honest, that would be a lot for me. But if you're so motivated, go for it. You can definitely try and see if you can keep up with that 5 hours. I know I couldn't keep up with that. That's why I wouldn't necessarily advise it, because it doesn't mean the more hours you put into it that the more you're going to learn, actually, because I think after a certain time your brain even, like, you can get so much, you can only get so much information into your brain at once. 5 hours a day is a lot, but you can definitely try it and see if it works for you. That's what I can say. I can't tell you not to try it, at least. Yeah, I would just say try it and see if it works for you. And when you see it doesn't work, then definitely try another method. That's all I can say. With language learning, that's how it is. There's no right or wrong. It's just what works for you. For other people it might not work, but for you it might work to study 5 hours a day. All right. Merci beaucoup. De rien. Someone said thank you very much. All right. How do you gain? That's a very good question. How do you gain the courage to move to a different country, especially when you don't know anyone in that country? Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that's something that really comes from within, because I was always the person, I never was, afraid or concerned to just go. I always had on my mind, like, after high school, I want to leave Germany and travel the world. I didn't really exactly know where I was going to, but I always more or less had a plan in mind. I always wanted to, discover different cultures, countries, and whatever, and then maybe, like, go back to Germany and, yeah, and continue to study and whatever. I never went back, but that was always my goal and plan. So I'd say just be open, open to get to know different people, get to know different cultures, because obviously you're gonna be away of you're not gonna be in your comfort zone. So just be open to, experience new things, get to know new people, get to know new cultures, new languages, everything. So I think the first thing you should really have is like openness. Be open to it, because what if you're like close to it, it's very difficult to get accustomed to everything in that new culture, new country. So that is my number one advice, and that's something I really learned along the way. I was always a very shy person. When I went to live in Spain for the first time, I went by myself. I didn't know anyone. I lived with the Spanish host family, and I had to like become more open. I had to open myself up to get to know people, to talk to people. I couldn't just stay in my shell, and not talk to anyone. So that is my main advice. Be open. And once you're open, things are gonna come. Start you're gonna start meeting people, and from there on it's gonna get easier. Yeah, so that would be my main advice. And just, yeah, to take the courage, just forget any doubts and fears. That's another advice I would give. Forget any doubts and fears, because if you have too many doubts and fears, you let people talk into your head. That's also something, yeah, everyone experiences, everyone who wants to go abroad. I also experienced that. My mom, of course, didn't want me to go. Like, I told that, did I talk about it? Well, when I was telling my mom that I wanted to do like au pair year, she was like, "No, the hell no." But I said, "Well, I'm gonna do it because I saved up my own money," and so couldn't, she couldn't really keep me from doing it because it was my money. I saved up my money. I did everything. I organized everything, and I just went. When she saw that I was fine there, of course, everything went better. But of course, I think that's something you also might experience, that when you're young, your parents don't want to really let you go by yourself somewhere they don't know. So they are trying to talk you out of it, maybe, or things like that. Or other people might talk you out of it. But I think that happened a lot with me. People were saying you're crazy, like you shouldn't go. But if I look back now, that was the best decision I could have ever taken. So I would say if you want to do something, go for it. Don't let people talk into your head. Of course, you can take different advice from people, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, it's your decision, and you should know. You should know best. Yeah, and yeah, if you're open, and if you're open, if you know what you're doing, then there should be nothing to worry about. All right. Let me see. All right. Someone is saying, is studying in Germany even worth it? I'm American and I've mixed things about the anti-black racism there, but I have thought about studying there. Of course, if you think about studying Germany, then you should definitely go, because I think, well, of course, there's like racism anywhere, but nowadays I don't think that it's more there than in other, like in America, for example. So you should definitely go there if you want to go there. The education system in Germany is very good. The universities are very good. So I would definitely advise you to go to Germany. Um, all right, someone is saying, I have been learning English for 2 months. I started 24th May. Okay. I'm listening, reading, watching, a little bit writing, sometimes speaking by myself. Okay. But my progress demotivated me. What do I do wrong? I actually think your English is very well for the that fact that you've just been studying and learning English for 2 months, and it's actually really good. So I would tell you to not get demotivated, because you're making progress. You're honestly making progress, and always just keep continue, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. A lot of people put way too much pressure on themselves. That is why I never had really like a study routine or anything, because I didn't want to put pressure on myself, because once you put pressure on yourself, you're not really enjoying the progress and the process, and you're not really seeing your progress. So one thing you could do to document your progress is, for example, always have a notebook. I always used to have like a notebook I would carry around wherever I went to. I would carry around that notebook, and I would write every single word I heard in that new language that I didn't know. So I would write it down in my notebook and then look it up in the dictionary and write that word down, and I would go on like over that the list of words, new words I learned daily. I would just go and revise the words. And after about a couple of months, I would go all over the words, the list, and that it wasn't necessarily just a vocabulary, just words, but it was sometimes grammar, structure, or just the way people were saying things, colloquial language, things I would just find interesting, and I would just note them down. And then along the way, like 2 months in, 3 months in, I would go over those notes I took, and I was like, wow, I've come a long way because all of those things I know now. So that is a great way to actually document your progress, because like that, you'll see that you've actually progressed a lot. So yeah, so that's what I advise you. Just keep going and try to write down everything, your progress. Um, all right. So let me see. Um, Learning French, I believe, all kinds of media. All right, someone is saying, I struggle with learning French as I mostly learn languages with all kinds of media, reading, TV, movies, etc. And I can't find anything good in French. Do you have any recommendations? Like, what do you mean you can't find any good media in French? So you mean you can't find any books, good books or TV shows or movies? I'm actually going to make I was actually going to do like make a video on a good Netflix series in French for those who might be interested. Um, so yeah, like stay tuned for that. So then you could see, or I would just advise you to look up things. I mean, there's always so many media outlets, especially in a language like French. There's so much because it's not a rare language. So you can always find books, media, stuff like that. And I would say just look for the things you might find interesting. Like, for example, you could just literally just Google best Netflix shows in French, and then just look at the shows, and look for the one that might seem interesting to you. Or yeah. Um, all right, someone was okay. Thanks for answering my question. All right, you're welcome. It wasn't clear. Sorry. My Spanish is Colombian and Portuguese is Carioca. Okay, I was just asking how the French accents vary. All right, well, I can't answer that as simple because of course there's so many French accents, like so many African countries speak French, so many like Europe, Canadian French. There's so many different types of French that I can't just explain every kind of accent in which way it varies. But obviously, since there are so many different kinds of French, they vary quite a lot. For example, French in Paris varies even like from the French in the south of France is also very different. Like the south of France, they pronounce their vowels are more open, and here in Paris, it's more closed. Like for example, to the left in here in Paris, they would say à gauche, so it's a closed O. But then in the south, they would say à gauche, so it's more open, like oh. So the little things like that, or even the Canadian French, Quebecois French, it varies very much from the Parisian French too. So um, in most cases, also here in Parisian, like in Paris, Parisian French, Parisians speak quite like faster than, for example, in the south of France. That's something I noticed quite right away when I came here, that they spoke quite fast because my teacher back in uni was Belgian, and Belgians speak a lot slower than French people do, and a lot slower than Parisians. And they also obviously have a different accent. All right, someone is asking, my parents were not happy I moved to France. I was praying for ways to go back to live in France. I was on a tourist visa the first time. All right, can you tell me how your au pair experience was? All right, I have a whole video on that. I actually uploaded it like 2 days ago. So I would tell you to go watch that video because I explained everything I did. I explained the website I used, everything I did from A to Z on like in that video. So please go watch that video if you want to know the whole process, the whole procedure of becoming an au pair. And you could become an au pair here in France too. So everything I did to become an au pair, you could apply um, to come to France as an au pair. All right. Can you speak Dutch? That's an interesting question. Um, I understand Dutch a little bit because it's very similar to German. You know, Dutch is basically a mix of German and English. So I understand quite a lot of Dutch, but I've never actively learned it, you know. But I understand when people say things when I'm in the Netherlands, when I'm in Amsterdam, I understand when people talk to me in Dutch for the most part because words are very similar to English and German, but I don't actually speak it. What was the most difficult? What was the most difficult for you to learn? I didn't really understand that one, but you. Um, Would you still recommend Lingvi app for learning Spanish? Yeah, I would definitely recommend Lingvi app for any language you could learn on there because it's so good to be able to practice actually speaking, you know, because that's a part that a lot of people still fear and are afraid of, and a lot of people still don't really practice that, like the speaking that much, you know, because I find people always just concentrating on the grammar, on reading and writing, you know, but they're not really able to speak a language. And I think speaking is the most important part. So I would definitely recommend the app to, you know, just get accustomed to speaking to a native person. And I would also say, don't definitely not do not be afraid of speaking to a native person. You know, some people might be scared off by the app because you actually have to be on the phone with someone and speak, but that's the purpose of it. All right. Have you ever tried to learn Hebrew? No, I've actually never tried to learn Hebrew. Someone's asking, yeah, do you have videos on techniques for learning two languages simultaneously? Yes, I have videos on that. I would suggest you to go on my channel. I have a whole playlist on language learning. You know, it's called language learning playlist. So all the videos I do specifically about techniques and methods on language learning are in that playlist. So there's a playlist. There is a video called "How to Learn Two Languages at the same time" or something like that. In that video, I specifically talk about that and give advice on how you can learn two languages simultaneously, you know. Yeah, so I would just definitely recommend you to go and check out that video. um Someone's asking, do you want to learn Greek? Yeah, that might be interesting. I've actually thought about it, but I actually don't know any Greek person, you know, because I kind of want to have a relation to that language. And I think it's a little bit more difficult if you don't know anyone you can practice with. Of course, there are apps and stuff, but I always want to have like a personal relation to that language. So I would have to have a good reason to want to learn Greek, you know. Do you know a few words in Russian? I actually just know one word that is spasiba. Thank you. And that's it. And tak, I think. Yes. No, tak is Polish. Da. Da is yes, I think in Russian. All right. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna wrap this video up soon. So if you have any further questions, then please ask. Um, all right, what careers are good for languages? That's another good question. Actually, there are so many careers that are good for languages because languages are something that will never, be not required. It's always important to know several languages, especially nowadays. We're living in a global world more than ever, globally like connected through the internet and everything, technology. So it's important, like more than ever, to know more than one language. I think in really any career, knowing more than one language, knowing several languages could be beneficial if you're trying to, go into language career path. Then I, for example, wanted to become, I wanted, what is it called, an interpreter. I wanted to become an interpreter, but I basically didn't follow through because everyone was, advising me not to study that because everyone was saying once you become, an interpreting, except if you're working for the UN or something like that, you are not really gonna have like a stable job. You're always going to be like, freelance and stuff like that. So everybody was just talking me out of that because I always enjoyed the speaking part of translating. I didn't want to become a translator because I don't like just reading books and texts and documents and stuff and then just writing the translation down. But I actually wanted to talk. So I really like interpreting. I enjoy that very much. But I chose to combine it with management and business, because I think that's a very good combination, and everyone advised me on doing that, and that's what I did ultimately. Because I think it's very beneficial if you know languages, but you're not just into languages, but you also know business, and then you can combine those two things, because that's what runs the world. So you could always find, like wherever you are, you could always find a career in those two fields, like business and language. And then combined, that's even better, because someone could have the same skills as you have, but you speak two languages more. So you are better for that position, So that's always what will ultimately get you a better position. Yeah, like for example, you could be an engineer, but an engineer who just speaks English, but then you could be an engineer who speaks three, four languages. That will, of course, always put you in a better position. All right. Do you speak any African languages? Yes, I do. Since I am from Ghana, I speak Tree. The language is called Akan. So it's called Tree. And I do speak that language. I even have videos in that language. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay, someone is saying, yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm an engineer, but I like to move to Europe. Yeah, that's great. Someone saying she's stunning, wishing you all the best. Thank you very much. Someone is saying, I'm from Ghana too, chica. Hey, my fellow Ghanaian. It's always so cool to meet fellow Ghanaians. It always feels like we're always so close. Like it feels like meeting a sister or brother. Um, Someone is asking, okay. I see my mom. Do you speak Italian? Yes, but I must admit I haven't practiced in a very long time. I studied Italian for just a year at uni, and I haven't really practiced ever since. So I wanted to dip go more, deeper into Italian, but I've never really came around to studying it more. But I really like Italian, but I'm like a little bit, on the fence because before I really used to love Italian, before I learned Spanish and Portuguese, and now I'm like, oh, well, I wouldn't be able to speak Italian anyways. I would just be able to speak Italian, in Italy or with an Italian person, or like parts of Switzerland speak Italian, but other than that, no one really speaks Italian. So I'm like, because with Spanish, like the almost whole of Latin America speaks Spanish, and Spain, so many countries. So you're able to communicate with so many people from different nationalities and countries. And with Portuguese, the same. Like so many Brazilians all over the country. Is huge, and career-wise, it helps you a lot to speak Portuguese and Spanish. But for Italian, I'm like, well, if I'm like on my next Italy trip, then actually, I was in Italy last year, and actually, I remember quite a lot, like my Italian. I was surprised, like whenever I'm in Italy, I get by so easily. Like I never have problems to communicate with the Italians. It is so cool, and once I'm there, I'm like, wow, like I should really continue in like learning Italian, learning it to, to certain degree, like to a more fluent degree, because my Italian is basic, but I get around very well. You can throw me off like by myself somewhere in an Italian village, and I would be able to get by, but with no problems. But further than that, I would have to dive deeper into Italian. Someone is saying, hi, beijos from Rio de Janeiro. Beijo! It's always so good to meet Brazilians. They're the nicest, one of the nicest people, always. And I love Rio de Janeiro. Saudades do Rio de Janeiro. I love Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. All right, so that was it for the questions. I'm gonna wrap this video up. Yeah, well, it's already getting dark. My natural lighting is already going away, so I'm gonna wrap this video up for now. And I really enjoyed this live. This was my first live. I really enjoyed it. Let me know if you want more lives. If you want more lives, I'll definitely try to implement that into my channel and do that maybe, once a month or so you can all come on here and we can chat. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. So I definitely try to do more lives with you guys. Lives in French. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll try. But the thing is, with doing different languages, of course, not everybody's from the same place. So not everybody's going to be able to understand. And I always have to translate. So, yeah, the videos, I try to make different videos in different languages. But the translating part, to be honest, I struggle with it sometimes because it's so much work translating a whole video. And I know not everybody's always able to understand everything I'm saying if I'm doing like a video in French or Portuguese or whatever. But I want to try to cater to everybody, a little bit. But yeah, I'm trying my best. I'm definitely trying my best. But all right, all of you saying I should do definitely more lives. Okay. Thank you a million for this. Waiting for more. Thank you. Your brothers. Thank you so much. It was a good life. Thank you so much. Thank you. Merci. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this video up, and I'll see you then in my next video that I'm going to publish. And always remember that in the community tabs, I sometimes do polls, and ask you what kind of videos you would like to see next. So definitely try to watch out for those polls and what I post on there. So yeah, thank you so much. Cheers, cheers. Thank you. All right, see you. Bye. Ciao. Cheers.